it's just hard to say all this stuff. I always knew I was gay from a very young age. I always knew I was different, at the very least. I knew I was weird. I knew I was different from the other guys. I had two older brothers, and they were like guys. You know, they like to work out, and they like to fight, and they like trucks, and they like guy things. And I always knew that I was different from them. And then I had a younger sister, and when she was growing up and she was starting to paint her nails and everything, I remember just crying a whole bunch, and I remember thinking to myself that God maybe made a mistake, and that I was supposed to be a girl, and that's what those were my thoughts. But now I know God didn't make a mistake. God made me exactly how I was supposed to be made. But it's been hard, for sure, navigating life and spirituality and family, being a gay person. But yeah, this is my coming out story, so I guess let's just get into it. So, I always knew I was different, and when kids would use the word gay and the bullies would say gay, part of me knew that that's who I was. So I always kind of knew and had a feeling. Of course, I had little crushes here and there as well. But it wasn't until high school where I came out to the first person ever. I came out to a friend in high school named Claire Oakley. I remember telling her, I really got to tell you something. I really had to just get this thing off my chest because I was carrying this burden with me around everywhere. Like, I'm gay and I can't tell anybody, I can't be myself, I have to be a certain person. And finally I was close with someone, and then I said to them, I need to tell you this, I need to get this off my chest. And so we had business class together, and I told her, like, at lunchtime, we have to talk, I need to tell you something. And I told her I was gay, and it was fine, it was whatever. I always felt like when I'm at school, I could be myself, and I could explore who I am and stuff like that. But when I would come home, I would not feel like that. I would feel like I need to be a certain person. I would need to play a certain role. I was the third out of 4 children. Like I said, 2 older brothers and a younger sister. So, yeah, I came out at school and everything was fine. But at home, it was a different story. My father was a bodybuilder and he was a gym owner. So I came from like a very macho background, and then 2 older brothers that were really into really masculine guys as well. And my mom was very, very religious. And so, and then I would do research and see what it's like for people to come from Muslim families and be gay. And I would see that it's not easy. And then some people get disowned. Some people, there's lots of horrible things happen to them. And now I'm secure in my faith and my sexuality and my identity and who I am. But yeah, God made me this way. I didn't choose to be gay. If I could choose the easy path and just be straight and be like everybody else, of course I choose the easy path. But God gave me this path, and God made me exactly who I was supposed to be. So yeah, fast forward, as the years went on, I always felt like I needed to get this off my chest, because it was still like, yeah, I could be myself at school, but when I would come home in my living situation, I would still be carrying around this burden. And I would be crying all the time, and I would always be like very emotional, but I would hide that, and I would do it before I would go to sleep. I would be crying in the washroom, just because I was carrying such a burden on my heart, and it's not something that I chose, and I really want to make that clear. and I know if you're watching this, you know that. But I remember there would be moments where I wanted to tell my dad, or I wanted to tell my mom and get it off my chest, but it would get stuck on my throat, and I would never be able to get it out. And I was so scared that something would happen and I wouldn't be able to take care of myself, and something bad might happen. And so, yeah, and it wasn't until my second year of college, university, when I was doing my Bachelor of Music, and I was studying music, which was really, really awesome. My first year of college, I lived with my brother. I was still very connected with my family, but in my second year, I lived in like a student housing spot, and it was cheap rent, I lived down the road from school, so I had facilities to be working on music, and I had a community of like-minded musician people around me where I was living. So I basically felt like I was kind of in a place where I could come out and be on my own if I needed to be. And so that's when I kind of decided that I should come out. Now is the time. This was in, excuse me, I just have a little bit of indigestion. That was in 2019, in February. I wrote a letter, and because I couldn't say the words to my parents, I had tried and it never worked. So I wrote a letter. And that seems to be like my method of communication with my father. It's just like sometimes I can't just talk to him, and I need to just like write out what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and I just need to give him a letter. I love him. He's amazing. He's an amazing dad. But yeah, I remember I wrote a letter, and basically in the letter I had written, like, I'm gay. I didn't really choose it. I've always known. And I'm living in Toronto, and I'm really, really happy for the first time because I can just be myself fully. Yeah, and I wrote this letter, and I was visiting back home for my grandfather's birthday. It was February 1st, 2019. And I left this letter under my dad's pillow. And I went back to Toronto, and that was a Friday night. And so I left that letter there, and I went home. The next morning, I was living in Toronto, and I worked in Oakville. So I took the train to get to work, and I taught music in the morning on Saturday mornings. And so I was on the train, and all of a sudden I started getting calls from my mother. This was around, I don't know, probably 6, 7 a.m. or around that early morning Saturday time. And she was just calling me and calling me and calling me. And she called me in, but I didn't want to pick up because I knew there was a lot of energy and it would be a lot of stuff. And I was just like, I have to teach. I can't be in all this mental state stuff, like crazy mental state and sad, like all this stuff. But she just kept calling me. And finally I picked up, and she was just yelling and crying and upset and didn't understand, and was just really just confused, and she was upset. And I said to her, because this was my mentality, is just like, if I come out to my family, there's a chance of me not having a relationship with my family anymore. And I said that to her. I said, well, if it's too hard for you, this is who I am. Like, if it's too hard, then maybe like that means that we don't have a relationship. And I said that to her. I said something along those lines. Obviously it was a few years ago, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said that. And of course she's my mother, and she doesn't want to lose her son. So it was hard for her, but she didn't want to lose me, of course. And so I went on with work that day, and it was pretty dramatic, and it was a lot of energy, and my mom was hurting because I had come out as gay. Then that night, my father came to the place I was staying at, and he called me, and he knocked on my window, and he came in, and he gave me a hug, and he reassured me that it's okay. I don't know if it was him that told me, or my mom told me later, that he had talked to his doctor friend and asked him if like being gay is like a normal thing. And obviously some people are gay. I'm gay. And so he realized that like I didn't really have a choice in it. That's just who I am, and that's just my biology. And so he said that he loved me, and he said that it's okay. But he did say one thing that will stick with me forever. He said that just because you're gay, that doesn't mean that you can't be Muslim. And I really love that, because, and I'm never ever gonna forget that, because I didn't know at the time, because my relationship with Islam wasn't as deep as it is now. But that meant so much to me, especially after reading the horror stories that you would read online, and all the Islamophobia that you hear about, and all the brainwashing that's done in the West. It's like Islam is about love and peace, and that's just that. And you want to find peace, and you want to have love, and you want to have faith in your life. But like, for some reason, they don't allow your sexuality. If you have a certain sexuality, then you can't coincide that with your faith. If you, and I'm using the word sexuality, but that doesn't hypersexualize it. Everybody has a sexuality. But my sexuality was towards men and not women. And so, yeah, my dad accepted me, and he was the one who actually helped my mom come around, which was totally the opposite of how I thought it would go. I thought my mom would just love me unconditionally and it was going to be fine. And yeah, she does, and that's totally the case. Now, she has always loved me so deeply and unconditionally, but she just had a hard time accepting it because of the way that we're brought up in society, and the brainwashing of what it means to be gay. So my dad helped my mom come around, and things are so much different now, and they know who I am, and we have come to terms with that, and we understand that. We're having an understanding of that. I'm not out to my whole family, just my immediate family. And yeah, that's how I came out to my family, and they accepted me. But it was definitely a hard road, and it's not easy. It's still not easy to reconcile how the world views you, how the world even views Muslims, let alone homosexuals, let alone the cross section of Muslim and being gay. So it's not an easy thing, but it is amazing because honestly, it has made my faith deeper and richer. I feel like I have a really strong faith. My sister has a really strong faith, but I feel like my faith is a little bit stronger than my brother's. Like, I shouldn't be comparing our faiths or whatever, but I feel like my relationship with God is so strong, like on a different level than anybody else's because of the burdens that I have faced. Anyway, that's been my coming out story and how I came out to my parents. Yeah, it's National Coming Out Day, so I just wanted to make this video about how I came out to my family and how it worked out being Muslim and being gay. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want more content, and leave a comment about what you're going through. Let's share, let's make it a community, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Mwah. Love you, bye.